Hey everyone, Yahoo Finance here, and today we have an educational video brought to you by subscriber request. Dylan Young posted a comment on my recent Undervalued Dividend Aristocrats video, asking if I can make a video showing how I created the dividend yield theory charts in that video. So that's what I will do today. I'll show you the step-by-step process how to create one of these charts. The first step is to have access to a spreadsheet tool like Microsoft Excel, Apple Numbers, or Google Sheets. All of these options will suffice, but I'll be using Apple Numbers since I'm recording this on my MacBook Air. In addition to the spreadsheet tool, we will need two sets of data, the historical prices and the historical dividend amounts. I pulled this data from Yahoo Finance. It's free and easy, so that is what I will show you. Let's jump over to Yahoo Finance and get started. I'll create the chart for Verizon. They are not a dividend aristocrat, but they are a popular dividend-paying telecom. Okay, so let's type in the ticker symbol here in the search bar and click enter. Then let's go over to the historical data tab. And in here, let's select the past 5 years of data. You can select more or less depending on the time period you'd like to see. I like the 5-year history personally. Then we also want to select to see the data monthly. This will give us roughly 60 historical price points for the stock. You could also see the data weekly or daily, but if we wanted to see the daily price history, this process would be very time consuming. Once you're set, simply hit apply. Okay, so we have our monthly historical data, and we are going to export this data into a CSV file by clicking download over here. Next, we will open the file we just exported. And in this file, I will delete the columns I do not need, which are the open price, high price, low price, adjusted close price, and the volume. So the only column we want to leave is the close price, and the date of course. The reason I leave the close price versus the adjusted close price is because the adjusted close price adjusts for both dividends and splits, and the close price is adjusted just for splits. I want the price to be adjusted for splits, but not for dividends. If I wanted to compute historical total returns, I would use the adjusted close price. But for our purposes here, we want to compute the dividend yield at a point in history, and therefore we should not be adjusting the dividends out of the share price. Okay, so now that we have the historical prices for the past 5 years, the next piece of information we need is the historical dividend. The way I looked this up is also on Yahoo Finance. If you scroll down through the page of the historical price data, you'll notice the dividend amounts are shown right on the page. Since we are only looking at 5 years, it's easiest just to manually enter this data in. I'll go to the first dividend, which was 56.5 cents on July 6, 2016, and I'll type that in next to the corresponding date. Then I'll find the first instance the dividend amount changes, which for Verizon was on October 5, 2016, and I'll type this amount in next to the corresponding date. And I'll do this for each time the dividend amount paid changed, which happens to be 4 times for Verizon. And I'll copy the data down to fill in the blank spaces. Verizon pays a quarterly dividend, so I can change the amounts I have to annual dividends by multiplying them by 4. This way it looks more aesthetic. Okay, so now we have all the data we need to complete our chart. In the first blank column, I will compute the dividend yield for each historical date. The formula for the dividend yield is the dividend amount divided by the share price. If you didn't change the dividend amount to an annual dividend amount, you need to adjust for that here, by multiplying the quarterly dividend by 4 to make sure you are computing the actual dividend yield of the stock. I'll change this data to a percentage format so it looks better, and I'll drag it all the way down for all data points in my dataset. In the next blank column, I'll compute the 5-year average dividend yield. For this, I will simply use the average formula in numbers and hard-code the reference points. In numbers, it's done by clicking in the reference cells and preserving the row and the column. In Excel, you can do the same thing by adding a $sign before the letter and the number of the cell reference, or clicking on the cell reference and hitting Ctrl F4. Now when I drag this formula down, it'll be the same formula in each cell. If you want to make this chart more current, we can add the current share price for the stock in the last row. In the first blank row, we will add a data reference called current. We can use numbers insert function menu to add the current share price for Verizon. You do this by clicking on insert and selecting the stock quote option. Then all you need to do is type in the ticker symbol or name of the company and selecting it from the choices. It defaults to the price attribute, which is what we are looking for. So all you need to do now is just hit enter, and voila, we have the current share price for Verizon. This will update each day to the prior day's close price. This way, if I come back tomorrow or in a week, I don't need to manually update the share price. Numbers will do it for me. Excel has the same feature in the data tab. I don't have Excel installed here to show you, but you would need to enter the ticker symbol for the stock you are working on in the first column, instead of the word current we typed in here. Then you would go to the data tab and click on stocks under the data type section. This will convert the cell with the ticker symbol to a stock reference. When you click on this cell, now a menu option will appear off to the right, and if you click into that, you'll have the option to various financial metrics. Scroll down to the price and select it, and now the current share price for the stock will appear in the cell to the right of the ticker symbol. So once we have the current share price, we can copy down the current dividend amount and the dividend yield formula as well as the 5-year average formula. The only step left now is to create the chart. In numbers, you can do this by simply clicking on the chart button and selecting a 2D line chart. Next, you want to edit the data references, and you'll need to add the dividend yield column and the 5-year average column to the chart. You can also clean the chart up a bit by changing the x-axis to display the dates in the data references section here. And the y-axis to show more reference points by adjusting the major step count here. In Excel, it's easier to select the data you'd like to graph and then click on Create a Chart. And voila, now you have a historical dividend yield theory chart for this stock. If you watched my undervalued dividend aristocrat video, you may have noticed that I switched quickly between dividend yield charts for all 65 of dividend aristocrats by simply entering the ticker symbol into a cell. Let me open that spreadsheet to show you how it works. It's pretty much the same process as I just showed you, except I have a master sheet that pulls in data from supporting sheets. Cell G61 here is the driving part of this worksheet. Whatever ticker symbol I enter here is used as a reference to pull in the corresponding price and dividend history from the price and dividend tabs. I do this by using the Hlookup function. This works both in numbers and Excel. Basically, this function works in this way. The first part of the function is the value you want to look up. In my case, it is cell G61. The next information is where you want to look for the data. In this case, it's the price sheet and all the columns from AbbVie to Exxon. The next information is the value you'd like the formula to return. So for the first date, it'll be the second row, which is referenced by the number 2. The next row down will be 3, and so forth for all the rows. And the last piece of information is that I want the function to find the exact match. This prevents any errors if two tickers are similar and I mistype the ticker symbol into cell G61. When you're writing this function out in Numbers or Excel, the way you want to enter this last part is simply by typing in the word false. Numbers just changes the formula to say exact match, but you can type in the word false and it'll work just the same. I also adjust the dividend amounts here on the Master tab to annual dividends by multiplying the lookup value by 4. With this you need to be careful because not all stocks pay quarterly dividends, so you'll need to make proper adjustments for this function to work. There you have it, a historical dividend yield chart. If something wasn't clear, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching and see you next time.